Okay, I think you can see me. I am so excited. I don't know if I'm live yet, so I'm just going to keep flapping my jaws. I think I'm live. I think I'm excited about that fact. We have so much to talk about. Oh my goodness. It's all there in the title: housekeeping, gratitude, chef's table, bistro, upcoming series, courage, commitment. It's all here, right here live at Lace on Race. Hi, I am Lace Watkins, Executive Director of the Lace on Race Center for Racial Equity, otherwise known as Lace on Race, and your chief cook and bottle washer. Here to serve, here to love, with Hesed and with heart. If you like what you're seeing and you want to see more of it, make sure that you click subscribe on whatever platform you are on. Facebook, my personal page, Instagram, Twitter, and of course the website itself and the bistro. We are here for you. You can find us many, many, many places. Also, make sure to share. It's the way that we get the message out and the way that we make sure that Lace on Race and our method and who we are continues outward. First, we got to do some housekeeping, but before I do that, I want to do the fun stuff. Yellow nails! Thank Meleza for that. The incredible graphic that she did in one of the series for George Floyd, I think it was the policing essay, had a picture of a woman, a very idealized picture of me. I am nowhere that thin, but there's a picture of me, and the woman has yellow nails. And I said, I can't let that graphic steal my thunder. So what did I do? I did yellow nails. It's fun. I love it. There's so much that is gratifying and fun, downright fun, in the quest and in the journey and in the walk of racial justice. I want to make sure that we remember that, because it can seem like a slog, especially in these last months. Oh my gosh, one more tough essay. Oh my gosh, I have to think about this. Oh, yeah, you have to do all those things. I'm not going to lie. It's not always easy work, but one of the things that it can be is fun. It's fun to be in community together. It's fun to know and be known. It's fun to have yellow nails. I can't stop looking at them. I don't know what to tell you. It's fun to be able to know that you are living out your praxis on a day-to-day basis, walking alongside people with the exact same convictions that you have. I want to invite you to do it and to do it more. I love, absolutely love, seeing new people pop their heads up either in the bistro or at the takeout window, and it is something to see. I love it. I cannot wait to go and mix it up with all of you, as well as mix it up with my staff and my leadership team, who themselves are yeomen at making sure that everyone feels seen, everyone feels heard. The water is fine. Exactly the things that we talk about, that we exhort you to, we do our best to exhibit, both at the chef's table and at the bistro and at the takeout window. Kind candor, holding our own hands, modeling what we hope is durable love that you can inculcate and internalize and then take outside. In case you guys are wondering, no, I still do not have the doors on yet, but they'll get there. They'll get there. Meanwhile, I am not going to stop the lack of doors at the Lace on Race Kitchen to stop me from saying all the amazing things that need to be said. It's amazing. In terms of housekeeping, I love that there are a lot of people who are reading and hopefully enjoying and taking something from the content that we produce and the content that we curate. I love you. Thanks. It's not enough. What we are hoping for is that you do more than just read. When we talk about engagement, we mean it. We know that that's different from other places. So it's not just enough to read and go, that was really interesting, and scroll and roll on. What's important is that you practice. As I've been saying for years now, Lace on Race is a practice space, a lab where you can learn how to communicate effectively and with Hesed with people who are walking in the exact same way that you are. That's important, especially when we talk about some things that are hard. I have been getting some comments about the George Floyd series. Wow. Yeah, I gotta admit, we're talking about hard stuff. We're talking about the last year in the Black Spring and how we have or have not lived up to the potential of that movement from a year ago. We're talking about the roles of institutions, of the media, of corporations, of policing. We're talking about our response, our collective response, and also our individual response here at Lace on Race. We're talking about doing it when it's hard. That doesn't mean that we can't have fun in the margins. We do. Yellow nails prove it. But the fact of the matter is that just as in the essay that I put out last week, it cannot be a one and done. This is important to remember. And it's important to think about as we talk about amongst ourselves and amongst people in our outside lives, and when we talk interior wise. Who we are as we do this work informs so much. And one of the things that we harp on is relentless reliability, both in this space and in spaces outside as well. When we are resilient, we know that we are in for what some people say is a slog, but what I say is a walk. The other metaphor that we use is staying in the car. That's important too. As we move on and go deeper and farther, and the George Floyd series will indeed test our mettle, it is important to remember that we are doing this work not just for our own self-aggrandizement or for our own benefit, because as I've said before, if you do the work as we encourage and prescribe, good things will happen. You will learn how to hold your own hand. You will learn emotional regulation. You will be able to show up in ways that perhaps you hadn't shown up before, not just for Black and brown people, but in your family, in your workplace, in your houses of worship, with your neighbors. But that is always secondary. One of the things that I have been gratified to be able to do in my new role as executive director is to take the Lace on Race message outside. I got to tell you, it is always so good to come back home. That is not a disparagement on other spaces. There are other spaces that do amazing work, but they don't do everything that we do. Sometimes there's the relational, but without the intellectual and the academic. Sometimes there is the academic, but it's cold and sometimes bloodless and can seem somewhat heartless. There sometimes is truth-telling, but without Hesed. We do all of these things all at once, and that's exactly what we ask of you all to do as well, to be able to do the entire thing. Deep love, deep responsibility and accountability to yourselves, to each other, and to the people outside. Relentless reliability. And knowing that this is a lifelong work, a lifelong journey. And that we do this regardless of whatever winds buffet us. We've seen this in the last 5 months. I am really amazed at how well the community has coalesced and come together. I have been absolutely gobsmacked and blown away at the commentary and the community that is being formed, even in the midst of some things that would have felled other groups. There are people who private message me, is there still a such thing as Lace on Race considering everything that happened? Oh my goodness, yes, absolutely. You're not seeing repackaged stuff. You're seeing stuff that we're making and curating for you. It's important that we continue to stand up and suit up and show up and serve up all the time, despite whatever happens. Because when we don't, we are not living in alignment and congruence in standing with and for the people that we say we stand with and for. We are not living out North Star values. Here we go. Are you ready? Everyone say it together. Lessening and mitigating the harm endured by Black and brown people, perpetuated by white people and white supremacy. That is absolutely crucial. There are a lot of new people that have come on board. It tends to be about a wash. New people come in and we onboard them and we hope that they stick around and we hope that there is something that resonates with them. And we want to remind you that even though it can seem intimidating at first, I mean, if I didn't run Lace on Race, my goodness, I would be intimidated at the quality of comments that we get here and the way that we speak to each other, where we can say anything, but not in any old way. And people say, I want to, but I can't write like that. No one's asking you to write like that. Write from the heart. Write from the heart. What's the difference between locating and centering? Centering is self-effacement. Centering is self-aggrandizement and self-centeredness, exactly what centering means. Locating is finding where you are in whatever material that we present to you, whether it's curated content from other third-party sources with or without my commentary on top, or original pieces from either myself, my leadership team, or from outside contributors. What I would like to very strongly suggest is that all of you new people take a breath. Take a breath. There are foundational documents to be found both at the Lace on Race website and in the bistro. They're called starters. And here they're called pinned posts at the takeout window at the Facebook page. It is important that you read them because the way that we do things is indeed different. Here we see each other eye to eye. Here anybody can talk to anybody, as long as it's done with durable and authentic and congruent Hesed. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's another thing. What is Hesed? I get things about that too. You guys talk a lot about things I've never heard of. Hesed is love in all of its permutations, but it's a very specific kind of love. We are not very nice people at Lace on Race. Niceness can sometimes be passive aggressive. Niceness can be surface and superficial. What we are is kind. One of our catchphrases and what we try our best to live by is kind candor. We tell the truth, and in a way that is not necessarily easily digested, but has Hesed love at the core. And Hesed is muscular. It's a take no prisoners kind of love. It's a love that stands with. It's a love that is shoulder to shoulder. It's a love that does not sit down. You'll find it here. One of the things that we feel is so important is that in order to create durable community outside, we need to learn how to do durable community here. We need to learn emotional regulation so that we're not shutting down, blowing up, or running away. We need to decide how it is that we are going to sit with and inculcate and internalize things that you may not have heard before in exactly the same way here. That's important because as you get to harder things, you are going to be, if not tested, certainly challenged. So we invite you to check out the fair in the takeout window. And when you are ready to come on over to the bistro. The bistro is our dedicated Facebook, not Facebook. We're getting away from Facebook. It's our dedicated website where we have what we call the bistro. That's groups. And we're going to be resurrecting these groups, not just the bistro, but we have different dining rooms in the bistro. Millennials, ability inclusive, BIPOC, Black diaspora, boomers, helping professionals, so that we can locate ourselves not just in an individual way, but in all the other different ways that we identify. I am making a concerted commitment to start spending a lot more time in the bistro and in the rooms, because I am convinced that that is where the deepest work can get done. And when you have had a good meal at the bistro and in the different dining rooms, guess what? Chef's Table will be ready for you. We've talked about Chef's Table for a long time, and that is where the amazing mentorship will be happening with me, with my staff, with leadership team, shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye, going deeper and farther than we can in the takeout window. For those of you who have been asking, yes, you're not wrong. We are migrating over to the website. Facebook has been wonderful to us in a lot of ways. It's what allowed me to push the button and start Lace on Race 3.5 years ago. But Facebook has limitations as well. And some of those limitations can become a bit confining. To be able to live out praxis the way that we want to be able to have a lab space where we can indeed go deeper and farther, we needed to have a dedicated space that was all our own. In the bistro, when you register, and I hope you do it right now. The video will be here. You can see the video later. Head on over to the bistro and register. You will need your real name. You will need a real picture, because that's how it's done in true community. What we have noticed that in other spaces, when people can use aliases and pictures of sunsets and puppy dogs, is that the relational can get lost. If I'm talking to CB handle 9274, it's a lot different than talking to Shonda. It's a lot different than talking to Ming. It's a lot different than talking to Charlene. When I can see the face, even within the limited means of an online learning environment, an online community, it gives me confidence and trust. And we need to talk about trust. We need to talk about the fact that over the last 5 months, trust has been eroded. I will tell the truth. Sometimes it's been hard for me to come. Our living room was defiled. And even though we've done scrubbing and patching, there's still some residue. We need to be able to talk about that squarely, because we need to be able to talk about everything. Because in the racial justice walk that we're all doing, there will be times of conflict. There will be times when you are hurt, sometimes almost mortally. There will be times when your character and your praxis will be questioned, and you need to decide who you are going to be during those times. I know that for me, what was the most important part was cleaving to community members here, cleaving to my staff, cleaving to my leadership team, and they cleaving with me. In the attachment series that I hope that we'll be able to do as we go farther and deeper and faster in the bistro and in Chef's Table, one of my favorite literary and professional mentors, Sue Johnson, who writes on attachment theory, says that the most important question that everybody asks, everybody else, is, will you be there for me when I need you? I know that a lot of people have been asking that question, either verbally or internally, in these last 5 months. Should I invest in Lace on Race? Are they going to be there? What if someone else is mean? What if she decides that she's just had enough? You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to be here. This is my life's work and the life's work of my staff and the life's work of my leadership team. And I hope that racial justice is also a non-negotiable part of your own life so that we can live out that non-negotiable ethos and praxis together. Done well, learning the tools that we supply you with here at Lace on Race and the tools that I want to give more of you when we are collectively ready. And we need to get there. We need to get there. Will serve you well outside. We will talk about resilience in later essays, including the George Floyd essay. But we're also going to have some fun because resilience, showing up, suiting up, standing up, serving up, does not have to be grinding your teeth and all the time. Community is fun. Being seen and known is fun. One of the reasons that staff and leadership team and I conceived of the bistro and chef's table is that we wanted to give you our secret sauce. It is not always easy being on leadership team. Believe you me, for one thing, these poor women have to deal with me every darn day. They deserve medals. And sometimes the questions that we've had of each other as we became a formal entity, as we laid down foundational documents, such as our bylaws, such as hiring practices, made for contention, made for friction. But as long as there was Hesed at the core, we got through it. I think that our foundational documents are some of the best documents for formal entity that I have ever seen. And I'm not just saying that because I'm at the head of this joint. Oh no. I want to tell you a little bit about one of the documents, which was my hiring contract. It took months for good reason. For good reason. Something happened that I have never seen happen in my 40 years of professional life. There were women who cared deeply about the organization, about its viability, about its sustainability. Their job as the board is to ensure the health, their responsibility is to ensure the health and the longevity and the sustainability of Lace on Race. Here's the fun part that you don't usually see. Usually, entirely too often, boards and other governing bodies put the health of the organization above the health of employees. Not here. I actually had to rein them in. How is this? And I would look in their chats. I said very little, but I would look at their chats, and one of the questions would always come up: how will this affect Lace? And I steered them a little bit differently. I don't want you to just think about me. Anything could happen. I could get hit by the 917 bus on Madeira tomorrow, and then you're going to be talking about how is this going to affect another executive director. But the point is that it was not just the health of the organization at any cost, and usually that cost is borne by employees. You see it in nonprofits all the time. My colleague Vu at Nonprofit as FUCK, it's a great website, talks a lot about that, about the fact that oftentimes nonprofits and other non-for-profit and governmental entities and private industry as well chew up and spit out leaders. Not here. There is nothing better than being able to come to work knowing that not only is my output respected, but I am respected as a woman, and not just as a woman, as a Black woman. That my health, my physical health, in terms of health insurance, my emotional health, including being able to do what is a very intense job, as well as giving me the tools to be able to do my job well and giving me freedom to be able to take the Lace on Race message outside. In leadership chat today, what we call all hands, I actually wrote something, and it had to do with both the freedom that I have to be able to do this job as I see fit in ways that very few other people have the freedom to do. And I am in a lot of groups, a lot of nonprofit groups, a lot of executive director groups, a lot of what they call social entrepreneur groups. And I hear so often about the tension between staff and board, between the executive director and people further down the hierarchy, with us having a flat and round structure and having to, and we do, be in full compliance to what we need to be in compliance with to be a formal entity and to employ me, because there are rules and we follow them, believe me, but we also do our best to subvert them. Yes, we have a president of the board and a secretary and a treasurer and a comptroller. Yes, we have bylaws that we literally poured blood in. I can't wait for you to read them. I think that you are going to find that they are unlike any other bylaws you have ever seen. What we did was we took the minimum and we leveled up each and every time. We cannot do less in the back of the house, in the pieces, parts that you may not see, that we do in the front of the house, the pieces, parts that you do see, the curated content, the original content, my mug on a video. It's all important. And to be able to have the freedom to lead as I see fit, to be able to have the freedom to be able to think as I see fit. One of the things that I said in leadership chat today was that I spent fully a half hour on the coronavirus couch doing this. Just thinking. I don't think I moved except to take a sip of blackberry sparkling water, another innovation of Meleza, and I'd like to say thank you. I don't think that I moved for 30 minutes because I was thinking about the role of corporations and media in the selling of the Black Spring in the aftermath of George Floyd. I have been in jobs where I was told point blank, we don't pay you to think. If your fingers aren't moving on the keyboard, you're not working. Well, you can't do that and be creative. You can't do that and be innovative. And in my other iterations of jobs, including the one that I retired from after 25 years, it's been 7 months now, 7 months. I was told that, and I felt it. I have had huge conversations, heartbreaking conversations with people who are absolutely burned out with the good work that they do. 7 months in what had to be the hardest introductory period of an interim executive director. They brought me on as executive director on a Friday, and by Tuesday, I was in the thick of it with Holly and Annie and Chris. Trial by fire. Trial by fire. And I had a board and a leadership team and a staff that supported me. They didn't have to. Sometimes, whether or not it's someone's fault, some sort of head has got to roll, and the head could very well have been me. I felt that it was almost a 3-month audition to see how I would do what I was not planning on doing at all, which was crisis management. How do I lead? How do I be a front-facing person? I am the face of Lace on Race. How do I lead back of house to my staff and my leadership team who were absolutely as gobsmacked and blindsided as I was? How do we continue to give good content and do good research and love on each other with Hesed in the staff chat, in the leadership chat, in our staff Zoom calls? I was fully prepared during this 3-month audition, which is how I felt about it, to have to sit for an interview, if I got an interview. And I figured that one of those major questions were going to be, so how do you think you've been able, you've walked through these last 4 or 5 months, Lace? How you think you did? I didn't get that. Part of it is because they see me on the day-to-day. Unlike a lot of boards that only meet quarterly, our board is in the thick of it every single day. They are the very definition, the platonic ideal of a working board. Everyone has a role to play, and they do it. When we were looking at the bylaws and we were putting down staff policies, and there is a policy manual, a staff manual, I thought that this is going to be one of the hardest things that I do. Try to make standards that are already exceeded every single day. Every single day. Sometimes I have said, half in jest, that of the entire staff and leadership team, I'm the weakest link. The work that they have done, even during this time, has been yeoman. Yeoman. The way that they have held me and supported you all in service to North Star Living. How they have modeled every single winning strategy in the book. How they interacted with each other with love and savvy. How they had requests instead of complaints. How they cherished. How they remembered love. It's something that every single one of us needs a piece of. Hence, the bistro and chef's table. None of us, one of the things that I get to do, and I love it, is in addition to being able to think, wait for it, hold on, I'm going to think for about 3 seconds, wait. Yeah, I did that for half an hour. It was awesome. It was awesome. Is I actually get to gussy up on company time. When I do the videos, I have to throw on some makeup and throw on something fresh. And I love being able to do it. It's when I get to really, really think about the things that I want to say to you, how I want to connect with you, which lippy I'm going to use for the video. And it has been an amazing thing to be able to do. We want that for all of you. Last week, exactly a week ago on Friday at our all hands meeting, we celebrated the signing of the contract that made me a formal employee of Lason Race. And it was amazing. It was also poignant. You know what? Technically speaking, I don't own Lason Race anymore. You all do. The entity owns itself. Those of you who are in Chef's Table will also be part of that leadership because we want a flat and round and accountable structure. I am the leader. I am the chief bottle washer of this joint. That means I have the most responsibility and the most accountability. But at the end of the day, I am a servant in the best sense of the word. And what we want you to do is to learn how to serve up. Everybody should have a piece of Leonie. Everybody should be able to sit with Catherine and have her love on you. Everyone should be able to have Danielle do this as she shows concern, or Melissa as she does this with steely resolve, or Laura as she does this, open and ready to rumble. That is how we move the stone. During this summer, we're going to be finishing up the George Floyd series. Believe it or not, it was supposed to be a one and done. I was supposed to do one essay that's morphed into 5. And then when we're done with that, we're going to do Terry Real. And then when we're done with that, we're going to have some other fun. And I want you to be here for all of it. I want to say a word before I go about the endowment itself. That's one of the things that allows me to have some freedom. We do not want to touch the endowment, except for fellowships and scholarships and ways that we buttress and affirm and lift up and amplify other brown and black voices. The only way that we do this is with your financial help. I know that people think, because Holly disclosed it a bit prematurely, that because the family gave that substantial endowment, that it's done. Like I've said before, we did not lose eyeballs. We lost about half of our operating day-to-day revenue. The good news is that the endowment is going to allow us to keep on chugging along, regardless of whether or not the community comes through. But I really want you to hear that. Regardless of whether or not the community comes through. We have so many plans for that endowment money. We want to be able to hire staff people at fair wages, not just an unpaid internship that only middle class and upper middle class people can do. No, we want to be able to say, hey, not only is your work important, not only is your potential important, but you're important too, and you should be able to buy a hot dog or whatever it is you want. Everything we do is with North Star in mind, and that means taking a close, hard look and questioning and critiquing and subverting some of the rules that we have to live by. So yeah, Lace on Race will be here regardless of whether or not the community as a whole shows up. But we shouldn't have to say that. Our output never diminished. Our love for you never diminished. Our engagement with you has never diminished. So this is a strong exhortation for all of you to do what we hope you have seen us model without fail, unrelentingly, relentlessly for the past months since the crisis. For those of you who have registered for the bistro, and we know that you look, one of the things that you agreed to when you registered for the bistro was that you would be an active participant. And we have quite a few active participants, but we still have some lurkers. And I would like to gently remind you that your commitment to the bistro does not include lurking. It includes showing up and being seen and contributing your voice. That's going to be even more true as we reopen the different dining rooms. Black diaspora, BIPOC, Latinx, ability inclusive, boomers, millennials, helping professionals, parents, all of this is important. We are going to be here. So for all of you who have private messaged me wondering, are you still here? Are you going to stick around? Can we trust that you will be here for us when we need you? The answer is yes. And now I get to turn that question right back around. Are you going to be here for the community? And are you going to be here for the North Star, lessening and mitigating the harm endured by Black and brown people, perpetuated by white people and white supremacy? This week I'm going to be doing a lot of different videos now that I finally have figured out how to do videos again. Facebook made it hard. But we're going to be doing more of them. I am going to be doing the beginning of the month ask. And the truth is that for these last 5 months, we have gotten at about half of our operating expenses. That makes it that much harder to think about hiring people. That makes it that much harder to think about adding more community partners, which, by the way, we still do, regardless of whether or not the community has shown up. First fruits, first fruits, first fruits. Yes, you can count on us. We need to be able to count on you too. The first 10 days of the month is when we get about 90% of our revenue. And that's just true. If you are going to financially engage with Lace on Race, you do it in the first couple weeks. And then we get dribs and drabs. We are going to be doing more asks because we need to keep this sustainable. And we also realize that Facebook is sometimes funky when it comes to what we can and can't boost, which is a nice way of saying advertise. In any given ask, if we're lucky, we get anywhere from 200 to 400 views. With a boost, we get up to 1,000 to 2,000. But Facebook, who thinks that we are a political entity and is still not completely convinced that I am not a white supremacist, makes it a little bit difficult. So we count on you. You are not going to see Lace on Race just show up in your feed. We are heavily suppressed, which is one reason why we're moving to the website. You need to show up of your own volition. You need to make sure that you're reading and that you're following the norms that we set last summer that people have conveniently forgotten but are still extant. Comment on every single post. Respond at least twice. We should be seeing a lot more responses that we're getting considering the amount of views that we're getting. That needs to change. In order to be here, you cannot be a passive spectator. You have to be an active participant, an active walker. This is absolutely crucial, and it's something we can't back down upon. For you new people, read the guidelines, read the other foundational documents. If you have questions, message us. Either I or staff or leadership team will be on it. Go to the website, register for the bistro, and when you feel you're ready, apply for Chef's Table, because I want to give you the depth that you deserve. It is time for me to go. It is time for staff meeting. But, oh, dear Lord, it's good to be back and seeing your faces as I imagine you on the other side of my kitchen table. There'll be more. Let's get cracking together again.